Hello, Hexagon team and organizers. Thank you for giving us this chance to work on the hackathon. It was me and Constantine and Austin working on this, but we're recording this like lunatics in the morning at 4:30. So here we are. so let's get started right away because we have a lot to cover. So first off, we wanted to parse the data properly, right? We use actually two different logs. We use best position and GPGGA because we wanted time and we wanted the latitude, longitude. We ended up mostly using best position, but the time did end up being useful in some cases. So this is basically the functions that help us split the data. And we needed a separate one for best position and for GPGGA because one used a custom set and the other used the abbreviated ASCII that we covered earlier. This basically sets the global variables, the file work. It sets the global variables that we want to use, and basically we can keep using this variable the whole time when we import it, so it made things easier. And this was Awesome's work. So Awesome mainly did the 2D work and the 2D animation, and it's pretty simple, right? This is a boilerplate template that we use for plotting everything. So when we plotted the data later on for the smooth data and everything, we use basically this boilerplate template. And as you can see here, it's almost a similar thing that he did, right? Except at the end, he had an animation function and he exported the animation. And basically, we made the animation convert into a GIF, and you'll actually see that on our website in a little bit. We also attempted to plot this on Google Maps, which Constantine can explain.
Yes, it's quite simple, really. One of our best pos CSV gave us the latitude, longitude, and the altitude, and all you have to do is parse the altitude section, and then you can export it as a file and plot it on Google Maps, which will be shown on our website.
Yeah, and as you can tell, we have 2,000 data points, which is kind of crazy because we did 10 milliseconds, or we did 10 hertz as our loading time. And the two most difficult parts probably are the 3D mapping and the graph smoothing. So the 3D mapping, mostly done by Constantine, is he did the beginning part. And basically the only thing is to change is the 3D projection, but you also have to add the Z-line, and you have to set different parameters. And we also use a smoothing algorithm. We actually use 3. So I'll go high level into all of them really quickly. Gaussian smoothing, basically, it takes the closest points, puts them on a bell curve, and averages that way. That ended up being our most successful method at sigma of 4 because it kept the details while smoothing the path. The second one we tried to use was exponential moving average, and this one basically it puts weights on less on the previous points and more on the current points as you go along the curve, and this ended up being our least successful while still better than the normal. And then Kalman, I don't 100% understand it, but apparently this is like not the golden standard, but a standard used in the GPS world for smoothing out data. Basically, it's a predictive model, so it'll predict the next point based off previous points and give a score of how accurate that prediction is. If the prediction is bad, it will only use a measured value. If the prediction is good, it will use a predicted value. Now, you guys obviously want to see all the graphs in the presentation, so let's go to the website.
Yes. On the topic of website, this is it, our final product, which we've worked hard on in HTML. And as you can see, we have all of our data, which was wonderfully made by all of us, and the smoothing algorithm, as well as the animation of the path actually taken, applied here as our first GIF. And here we have our gallery of the images, and you can see our original one of the data. The points are kind of scattered all over the place and not very consistent, as some inconsistencies in the readings probably caused it, and the exponential moving average filter smoothed it out a good bit, but the Gaussian smoothing method, which was, as aforementioned before, better at smoothing the actual data, was very good at giving an estimate of the path actually taken while removing the inconsistencies. And the common smoothing method, which was, as previously mentioned, one of the more common ones, didn't do too well here compared to the Gaussian method, as you can see in some inconsistencies in the readings. I'm guessing it's mainly because it's used over bigger distances, which is why it's more common. And the 3D representation of the route, you can see here better as the smooth display, actually shows some of the inconsistencies, especially in the altitude. And from the Google Maps overview, we can see why exactly it is, since the huge dips and spikes are where the sensors are blocked from the satellite signals as they go under roofs or near vegetation. And as was discussed, when the signal goes through solid surfaces, it actually decreases the time it takes to increases the time that it takes for them to bounce back and to the satellite,
and that's why
which makes it appear as if it's lower.
Kind of went down by 50 meters.
Or down.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, at the very end, because we were under the roof.
Now back to the homepage,
back here,
real quickly, we can see the full. If you view the walking path, basically that opens a page where now you have the walking path put on a live view of a map. Obviously, it doesn't have altitude, but it's a cool thing that we also were able to implement really quickly.
Yes, and here we have our sources of error, and as discussed before, some of the figure on Google Maps can show exactly why some of the error was existing due to the vegetation and things blocking the path itself, and that the smoothing itself might actually omit some details of the actual recorded data, since it's an approximation and not an exact measurement of it. However, these are not very important compared to the actual data, since the changes are probably less than 1 meter. And in conclusion, we'd like to very quickly thank everyone at the Hexagon team for allowing us to use their equipment. And we hope you guys have enjoyed our project, and we sincerely hope that we have contributed something to your testing.
Our website's up, so you can go test it out. It'll be up for the foreseeable week at least. So go test it out, look at our images, and look at our work. And thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.